The taxi driver looked confused as we pulled up to my address. "Ma'am, are you sure this is right?" he asked, pointing at the bright red "Sold" sign swaying in my front garden. I felt my heart drop into my stomach. This was my house. The house where I'd raised my daughter Sarah for 28 years. I'll tell you everything. First, let me thank you for watching Sand Story. Please subscribe and tell us where you're watching from in the comments. We might give you a shout out in our next video. Today's special shout out goes to Lil Mickey from Houston, Texas. Thank you for being part of our family. Now, let me tell you everything. My name is Eleanor Bennett, and I'm 65 years old. I just spent 5 days in the hospital with pneumonia. Nothing too serious, just needed some rest and medicine. Sarah had visited me once, said she was busy with work stuff. I thought she meant her job at the bank. Standing on what used to be my front porch, I saw my flower pots were gone. The welcome mat Sarah bought me last Christmas. Gone. Even my mailbox had been painted over. A young couple was looking through the living room window, probably the new owners. I called Sarah's phone with shaky fingers. "Hello, Mom," she answered, sounding annoyed. "Sarah, honey, I'm standing outside our house and there's a sold sign. What's happening?" There was a long pause. Then she said, "Mom, you're 65 now. Time to downsize. I sold it while you were sick. The money's in a savings account for your retirement home." "Retirement home?" I whispered. "Sarah, this is my house. I never agreed to sell it." "Well, it's done now," she snapped. "Your stuff is in storage unit 47B on Maple Street. Here's the code." She rattled off some numbers. "I have to go, Mom. I'm showing apartments downtown." The phone went dead. I stood there in the rain, watching strangers walk through my garden. The rose bushes I'd planted when Sarah started kindergarten were still blooming. The apple tree where she'd built her first treehouse stood tall and proud. But none of it was mine anymore. The taxi driver had waited, bless his heart. "Where to now, ma'am?" I gave him the storage address, my voice barely working. At the storage facility, I opened Unit 47B with trembling hands. Everything I owned was crammed inside like junk. My mother's china broken. My photo albums thrown in without care. My favorite armchair scratched and dirty. That night, sitting in a cheap motel room, I made a decision that would change everything. If Sarah wanted to erase me from her life, I would do the same to her. I would build something she could never take away. Growing up, Sarah was my whole world. Her father left when she was just 3 years old. It was always just us against the world. I worked 2 jobs, mornings at the grocery store, evenings cleaning offices, to give her everything she needed. Dance lessons, summer camps, college tuition. "Education will set you free," I used to tell her while helping with homework. "You'll have choices I never had." Sarah was smart, always making honor roll, always making me proud. When she got her banking job, I thought my sacrifices had paid off. I never remarried. Every dollar went toward Sarah's future. Every weekend was spent at her soccer games or school plays. When she bought her own apartment downtown, I was so happy. My little girl was successful and independent. Maybe that's why her betrayal hurt so much. I'd given her everything and she threw me away like garbage. From my motel room, I called my old friend Betty who lived across the street. "Eleanor. Oh honey, I was wondering where you went. Sarah said you'd moved to Florida to be near your sister." "Betty, I don't have a sister in Florida," I said, confused. "I've been in the hospital." "Hospital?" "But Sarah said." Betty's voice trailed off. "Dear Eleanor, I think something's not right here." Betty told me the truth. Sarah had hired movers while I was sick. She'd told the whole neighborhood I was moving to a fancy retirement community. She'd even had a fake going-away party, telling everyone I was too emotional for goodbyes. "She lied about everything," I whispered. "Made it seem like it was my choice." "Come stay with me," Betty offered immediately. "We'll figure this out together." Betty's guest room became my sanctuary. She made me tea every morning and listened while I tried to make sense of what happened. Maybe she thought she was helping. Betty suggested gently. You know, protecting you from having to make hard decisions. Without asking me. I shook my head. Betty, I was only in the hospital for 5 days. I'm not dying. I'm not helpless. I can make my own choices. That's when I decided to do something I'd never done before. Something just for me. I'd always wanted to learn pottery, but there was never time between work and raising Sarah. Now I had nothing but time. The community center offered pottery classes for seniors. My first bowl was lopsided and ugly, but it was mine. Made with my own hands, shaped by my own choices. The pottery instructor, Mrs. Chen, was patient and kind. Art is about expression, she said, watching me struggle with the clay. What do you want to express, Eleanor? Independence, I said without thinking. I want to express that I'm still here. Still capable of creating something beautiful. Mrs. Chen smiled. Then that's what we'll do. Week after week, my pottery improved. Other seniors in the class became friends. We shared stories, laughed together, supported each other. For the first time in years, I wasn't just Sarah's mother. I was Eleanor, artist, friend, individual. One day, Mrs. Chen suggested I enter a piece in the county fair. Your vases have such character, she said. They tell a story. What story? I asked. Resilience, she replied. Starting over. Finding beauty in brokenness. The county fair was huge. Hundreds of entries in the craft section. My blue ceramic vase looked small and humble next to the fancy pieces, but I was proud of it. I'd glazed it with swirling patterns that reminded me of storm clouds clearing to reveal sunshine. Eleanor Bennett, a young reporter, approached me. I'm from the local newspaper. Your pottery instructor said you just started learning this year at age 65. That's inspiring. We talked for 20 minutes. I shared my story. Not the painful details, just that I was exploring new passions after retirement. The reporter seemed genuinely interested in my journey of self-discovery. When my vase won 3rd place, I cried happy tears. Betty was there cheering, Mrs. Chen was beaming with pride, and my new pottery friends surrounded me with hugs. I belonged somewhere again. The newspaper article came out the following week with a headline, "Never too late to start. Local grandmother finds artistic voice at 65. My photo showed me holding my blue vase, smiling genuinely for the first time in months. Betty brought me 5 copies. You're famous, she laughed. The article mentioned my pottery classes and how art was helping me navigate a major life transition. I didn't think much about it until my phone started ringing. The first call was from Riverside Senior Center. They wanted to know if I'd teach a pottery workshop for their residents. Then the community college called. They needed a volunteer assistant for their seniors' art program. I don't know anything about teaching, I told Betty nervously. You know about starting over, she replied. Sometimes that's the most important lesson. My first pottery workshop at Riverside Senior Center was terrifying. 15 residents sat around tables, looking at me expectantly. I'd prepared notes, but my hands were shaking. Hi everyone, I began. 6 months ago, I'd never touched clay in my life. I was scared, just like maybe some of you are now. But I learned that it's never too late to try something new. As we worked with the clay together, beautiful things happened. Margaret, who had arthritis, found that working with clay helped her finger mobility. Robert, recently widowed, said creating something with his hands helped with his grief. You're not just teaching pottery, the activity director told me afterward. You're teaching hope. Soon I was teaching 3 classes a week. Each group was different, but they all shared one thing, the joy of discovery. One Tuesday evening, while cleaning up after class, I found an envelope that had been slipped under the pottery room door. My name was written in careful handwriting I didn't recognize. Inside was a letter from a woman named Grace. Dear Eleanor, I read about your pottery classes in the newspaper. I'm 72 and my daughter recently moved me into assisted living against my wishes. She says it's for my own good, but I feel lost and forgotten. Your story gives me hope that I can find my own path forward. Would you consider visiting our facility to talk with residents? Many of us feel invisible. Sincerely, Grace. I read the letter 3 times. Grace's situation sounded so familiar. An adult child making decisions, for their own good, without considering what the parent actually wanted. The next day, I called Sunset Manor Assisted Living and spoke with Grace. "You actually came," Grace said when I arrived at Sunset Manor. She was tiny with bright eyes and silver hair in a neat bun. "I wasn't sure you would." "Of course I came," I said, sitting beside her in the common room. "Sometimes we need to stick together." Grace introduced me to other residents who felt similarly displaced. Martha, whose son sold her house while she was recovering from hip surgery. Frank, whose daughter moved him from his farm to the city for safety. Dorothy, whose family decided she was too old to live alone after she forgot to turn off the stove once. "We're not broken," Grace said passionately. "We're just older. That doesn't mean we can't make decisions about our own lives." I felt a fire ignite in my chest. These were MY people. We'd all been discarded by families who thought they knew what was best for us. What if we started a support group? I suggested. Not therapy or anything official. Just a place where we could talk about our experiences and help each other navigate these situations. Grace's eyes lit up. Yes, we could meet weekly. Share resources, offer advice, just listen to each other. Word spread quickly through Sunset Manor. Our first meeting had 8 people. By the 4th week, we had 23 residents plus family members who wanted to understand better. We called ourselves the Silver Voice Circle, a place where older adults could speak their truth without being dismissed or patronized. I brought my pottery supplies and taught simple techniques. The combination of art therapy and peer support created something magical. Local nursing homes started requesting visits. The newspaper did another article. Soon we were getting calls from seniors across the county who felt unheard and invisible. 3 months after starting Silver Voice Circle, something unexpected happened. I was at home, I'd rented a small apartment near Betty, when my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. "Is this Eleanor Bennett from the newspaper article?" a woman asked. "The one who started the Silver Voice Circle?" "Yes, how can I help you?" "My name is Janet Walsh. I work for the State Office on Aging. We've been hearing about your support groups and wondered if you'd be interested in expanding this work. We have funding for community programs that serve isolated seniors." I nearly dropped the phone. Funding. A grant that would allow you to hire staff, rent space, develop programming. Your grassroots approach is exactly what we're looking for. After we talked for an hour, I sat in my little apartment stunned. 6 months ago my daughter had thrown me away like trash. Now the state government wanted to pay me to help other seniors find their voices. The grant application process was intimidating, but Grace helped me. Turns out she'd been a teacher before retirement and knew how to write proposals. Together we crafted a plan for Silver Voice Centers in 3 counties. While we worked on the application, my phone started ringing more frequently. But these weren't good calls. They were from Sarah. After months of silence, suddenly she was calling every few days. First voicemail. "Mom, Mrs. Patterson saw your picture in the newspaper. Call me back." Second voicemail. "Mom, this is ridiculous. You can't just ignore your daughter forever." Third voicemail. "I heard you're teaching pottery classes. We should talk." I saved each message but didn't respond. Sarah had made her choice when she sold my house without permission. I was making mine by building a life she couldn't control. The day we received the grant award, $150,000 to establish Silver Voice Centers, I was teaching pottery at Riverside when the call came. Grace squeezed my hand as I answered. "Eleanor, congratulations. You've been approved for full funding. When can you start?" I looked around the room at my students, their hands covered in clay, faces bright with concentration and joy. "We already have," I said. That evening, Grace and I celebrated with tea and store-bought cookies. 6 months ago, I felt worthless, I told her. Like my life was over. Now look at you, Grace smiled. Helping hundreds of seniors find their voices. You turned your pain into purpose. The next morning brought another call from Sarah. This time I answered. Mom. You picked up. She sounded surprised. Yes, Sarah. What do you need? I saw the article about your grant. That's amazing, Mom. I had no idea you were interested in this kind of work. There's a lot you don't know about me, I said calmly. Look, I think we need to talk. Face to face. I know you're angry about the house, but I was trying to help. You'd just been sick, and I thought. You thought you could make decisions about my life without asking me. I interrupted. Sarah, I'm not angry anymore. I'm busy. I have work to do. Work? You're 65. You should be relaxing, not starting some big project. I almost laughed. Sarah, I'm more alive now than I've been in years. I'm helping people who've been dismissed and ignored by their families. People like me. There was a long silence. Are you saying I dismissed you? What would you call selling someone's house while they're in the hospital? I was trying to protect you. Sarah's voice got louder. The house was too big. You were getting older. I thought if I handled everything, you wouldn't have to stress about decisions. But they weren't your decisions to make, I said firmly. Sarah, I'm your mother, not your child. I raised you to be independent and strong. Why couldn't you respect my independence? Because. She paused. Because I was scared, okay? Scared you'd fall down the stairs or forget to lock the door or. I don't know. I just wanted you safe. For a moment my heart softened. I understood fear. But fear didn't justify what she'd done. Sarah, if you'd talked to me, we could have figured out solutions together. Home safety features, maybe a medical alert system. But instead, you made me homeless while I was sick. I got you that nice apartment downtown. That you chose, I interrupted. In a building I'd never seen, in a neighborhood I didn't know. I want to make this right, Sarah said, her voice smaller now. Tell me how. You can't, I said gently but firmly. What's done is done. But you can learn from it. What does that mean? It means respecting that I'm still capable of making my own choices. It means asking instead of assuming. It means seeing me as a person, not just your aging mother who needs to be managed. I could hear her crying softly. I miss you, Mom. I miss the daughter who used to ask my opinion about things, I replied. The one who valued my thoughts and experiences. She's still here, Sarah whispered. I got scared and made terrible choices. Then prove it, I said. Not with words but with actions. Show me you understand that I'm still me, even at 65. After we hung up, I sat quietly in my apartment. Part of me wanted to forgive Sarah immediately, to rush back into our old relationship. But I'd learned too much about my own strength to settle for being treated like a helpless old woman. Over the next few weeks, Sarah started small. She sent a card congratulating me on the grant. She shared the newspaper article about Silver Voice Centers on her social media, calling me inspiring. She even donated money to our program, anonymously, but I recognized her handwriting on the envelope. These gestures were nice, but I needed to see real change. Would Sarah respect my choices going forward? Could she see me as an equal, not someone to be managed? The test came when Grace mentioned that her own daughter wanted to meet me. She feels terrible about how she handled my move here, Grace explained. She wants to make amends. Grace's daughter Karen arrived at Sunset Manor looking nervous and guilty. She was about Sarah's age, professionally dressed, carrying flowers. Mrs. Bennett. I'm Karen Walsh, Grace's daughter. Thank you for meeting with me. We sat in the common room where Grace and I first talked. Your daughter told me about your situation, I began. It sounds familiar. I made terrible mistakes, Karen said immediately. I moved Mom here without really listening to what she wanted. I thought I was being responsible, but I was being controlling. Grace squeezed Karen's hand. We're working on it, she said. It's not easy to change old patterns. What would you tell other adult children? asked Karen. Others who might be making similar mistakes. Talk to your parents like they're adults, she said without hesitation. Don't make decisions for them. Make decisions with them. A month later, Sarah called with an unusual request. Mom, I have something to ask you. The bank where I work wants to sponsor a community program. When I told them about Silver Voice Centers, they were very interested. Oh, I tried to keep my voice neutral. They want to fund expansion to 2 more locations. But they'd want to meet with you first, discuss the program goals, maybe do some publicity. I was quiet for a moment. This was Sarah's olive branch, using her professional connections to support my work instead of trying to control it. I'd be willing to meet with them, I said finally. But Sarah, I need to be clear. This is my program. I make the decisions about how it runs. I understand, she said quickly. I wouldn't try to change anything. I just want to help if I can. Why? Yes. Why now? Because I'm proud of you, she said simply. And because I want to be the daughter who supports your dreams, not the one who throws them away. The meeting with Sarah's bank went wonderfully. They offered funding for 3 new Silver Voice Centers plus money for a coordinator position, which they wanted me to fill. You'd be the regional director, the bank president explained. Overseeing all locations, training staff, developing programs. It's a significant commitment. I looked at Sarah, who was sitting quietly at the conference table. She caught my eye and nodded encouragingly. I accept, I said. But I have conditions. The program stay focused on senior empowerment, not just activities. And family members who want to participate need training on respectful communication. Absolutely. The president agreed. This is your vision. We just want to support it. After the meeting, Sarah and I walked to her car together. Thank you, I said, for believing in what I'm doing. I should have believed in you all along, she replied. I'm sorry it took me so long to understand. 6 months later, Silver Voice Centers were operating in 6 locations across 3 counties. We'd helped over 300 seniors find their voices, navigate family conflicts, and discover new purposes. Grace became my assistant director. Betty volunteered as a pottery instructor. Even Karen, Grace's daughter, started a support group for adult children learning to respect their aging parents' autonomy. Sarah and I rebuilt our relationship slowly, carefully. She learned to ask before offering help. I learned to appreciate her concern without surrendering my independence. The most powerful moment came during our first annual Silver Voice Conference. 200 seniors and their families gathered to share stories and celebrate resilience. A year ago, I felt invisible, I told the crowd. My own daughter saw me as a problem to be solved rather than a person to be respected. But sometimes our greatest challenges become our greatest opportunities. Looking out at the audience, seniors sitting tall with pride, adult children listening with new understanding, families healing old wounds, I felt overwhelming gratitude. We are not too old to start over, I continued. We are not too old to find our voices, follow our dreams, or demand respect. Age brings wisdom, not worthlessness. Remember that. The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. Sarah was in the front row, tears streaming down her face, clapping louder than anyone. Sometimes the family you rebuild becomes stronger than the one you started with. And sometimes, being thrown away is exactly what you need to discover how much you're truly worth. Thanks for watching Granny's Voice.